I almost put a cape on for today's video, but I'm like, that would be crazy. I'm like, it doesn't even go with this. Hi, hello everyone, welcome in. My name is Jer, and I smell really nice right now. We are in a super villains episode of Boulay Brothers Dragula Titan Season 2. Before we get into this, I want to preface by saying there is a lot of drama online right now about Eva and Abora making it to the finale. There are a lot of people that are comparing it to Drag Race and saying it was so rigged right from the start that we all knew it was going to happen. In my opinion, I think the competition was really fair. There were a couple top placements that I would have swapped around. Like, I absolutely would have given that first challenge win to Blackberry. I would have given the beach party win to Eva. I would have swapped around so that Holiday of Horrors was won by Jay and that Gothic Bridal was won by Abora. Like, there are definitely some wins that I would have shuffled around, but I think overall the competition was fair. The way that people fell off were because they made mistakes. Either that be because of a prop malfunction or their own inability to manifest a look and put that together in time for the floor show, or just a poor presentation. There were a couple bottom placements, of course. I was like, I wanted to see more from certain competitors, but I don't think this was a rigged competition, and this hate against Eva and Abora is so tired. Like, it's exhausting. A lot of comments that keep saying this is rigged reinforces to me that several people out there have not left their homes to perceive drag. But it's totally okay if people have not ever been able to leave their house to go to a bar or a competition or a pageant, and their only route to perceive drag is on TV. But in the real world, where drag is birthed and is fostered until it is prepared adequately to go to a televised show like Dragula or Drag Race or what have you, they're out in these competitions doing them in 2016, in 2017, in 2018, in 2019, pause for the pandemic, come back in 21, in 22, in 23, in 24, and they keep trying to win that pageant or competition. I know that it's a big platform. I know it feels cruddy when your favorite competitor doesn't make it all the way to the end, but this situation happens all the time in the real world. And a lot of these comments and validating both Eva and Abora making it to the finale that I've been seeing floating around the internet are acting as if these two have just been flops all season. Like, yeah, Eva had a couple safe positions that probably could have been bottom 3. Abora probably could have been bottom 3, maybe one other time. But for the most part, the two of them have been slaying. And so I will end this tirade by saying the two of them earned their spot. Was it obvious they were going to make it to the end to me? Well, yes, but for different reasons. You do not come back to a competition again and not raise the bar. You don't come back to a competition and coast. Well, some people do. And on Drag Race, coasting to the finale is sometimes encouraged. I don't want anyone to catch a stray, but I'm sure y'all can fill in blanks. There have been plenty of folks who come in and coast their way to the end by just relying on the same stuff they did the last time they were on the show. But for this season, Eva and Abora have been raising the bar constantly. And it is amusing to me that so many people are pressed about the two of them making it to the end. That being said, I am 100% hands down Team JK, and I think that he's gonna come hard in this finale, and I can't wait to see it. And I don't mean to start this video off on a bang and punching people in the throat, so let's reverse. I love the campy intro, Superwoman vibes of the Boulays spinning and transforming into their normal looks. The cast of monsters are gooped that Sigourney got obliterated last week, and kind of want to know why Eva did it. It's solidified that Eva chose Sigourney's name because she was pushing it in the cauldron, and Eva just wasn't there for the mind games, the manipulation, and the drama. To be honest, I wouldn't either. If I had a group of people that were saying, I want to be here because I fought and I've worked hard and I really want to keep showing my art, and then one person saying, are you sure that you want to do this? Are you sure you want to take me out? Are you positive that you want to do this to me? Because who knows what'll happen if you do. I'd be like, I guess I do. Let's just all sip our drinks now because you're going home. I don't personally like mind games. Eva clearly doesn't either and did not respond positively to the things Sigourney was saying. I think that's valid. Does it suck if you're a Sigourney stan? Yeah. But she kind of bought her own ticket to the Elimination City, so Eva's overalls with no shirt underneath was such a vibe and a look, but my nipples were hurting for them. A couple of weeks ago, I did a stream on Twitch where I wore black overalls and no shirt underneath, and the metal was right where my nipples were and chafed them so bad that the tips were red for a week. So I can only imagine that Eva was in immense amount of pain after this episode, and I enjoyed the chaos that this extermination brought to the room. For years, fans have been saying, what's the point in aligning with each other? Nothing ever comes from it. The curses barely do anything. There's no point in forming an alliance with someone. And the Boulets were like, well, we're not gonna just be some girl who farts. Let's be a bitch who shits. Let's take a big dump on the mother toilet and flush it. And that mother toilet in the mothership launched to Planet Mother, whatever the hell that means. This week, the storyline surrounds Cynthia. She's challenging Abora to give more than what she's been doing, which in my opinion, I feel like Abora has been stretching outside of her aesthetic in the same way that a lot of them have. I think Abora's been extremely likable and interesting. They've been showing dynamic looks week to week, so I didn't really understand where Cynthia was coming from. I think if anyone should be challenged in this room, it would be Eva. I think Eva's been showcasing a variety of looks, but in my opinion, I don't think they've pushed so far outside the boundaries of what Eva can do that I think Eva would have been the more likely contestant to say, hey, are you going to really push it this week? The challenge for this episode is for them to become supervillains and showcase their own unique supervillain power. That's so cool. Yes! This is an exciting challenge, and I love that they'll need to craft a creature and character that is not in the realm of D&D. Because going into this season, I did not want a D&D challenge. Like, I wanted DBD, but not DND. And I was looking forward to what the looks were gonna be. During creatives, the insanity has set in, I fear. There's always a point in televised competitions where the competitors start to lose it a little bit. Slowly losing their minds as they're trying to put together a look, not being able to focus in a challenge because they are just so amped up on caffeine and exhausted and stressed that they start acting like lunatics, and we saw that happen to Abora. And seeing the cabin fever made me cackle so hard because it made me think of that scene in Muppet Treasure Island. When Abora knocked over the Boule frame photo, I lost my shit because that was so funny. For the floor show, the Boulets were feeling their goats. Those mesh bodysuits with the hot corsetry over it was life. Put that photo at the altar of the Boulets where people worship at, because that was puss puss. They ate so hard, and those up-scooped hair, up-scoop to high heaven was a perfect choice. And I have no idea who Steve Orlando is, but his arms looked luscious. I love a hot nerd boy, like especially one who looks like they could make me black out right in the small of their arm. And I just want to put that out there. As always, I will talk about these looks later on in the week, so keep an eye out for that. But let's run down some quick thoughts. I love the blacklight elements on Eva's outfit. That green pops severely in the dark. I thought they looked super villainous, but kind of couture and high fashion at the same time. It legit looked like a creature from a comic book, and that was very much the brief. The staff was giving me a little bit Rita Repulsa, so I was fully immersed in the vibes of this being a super villain. And my buzzword for Eva is originality. I feel like she's always thinking about who her character is and how they fit in whatever story she's trying to tell, and I respond positively to that. What I didn't respond super positively to is the fact that they kept putting scenes together from one competitor and the other, because I think by comparison, it made whoever it was stacked against look kind of worse, because Eva's was so good. So it was kind of just this constant reminder that, Eva came up with the best look and nobody else really stacked up to it. It was like those videos where they'll say, Snickers or Reese's, and it's like, well, obviously the Reese's cups are better. And so it's like, it doesn't matter what you stacked up against it, the first one always won. And there wasn't a moment where it was like, whoa, that was the look to beat Eva's. Probably the point was to create a sort of tension of like two villains facing against each other. They're both baddies in their own way, and look how cool they are. But I think it sort of just dimmed the light of the other looks. Jay was repping cockroaches, which I hate bugs. But I liked this look. It was clean, it was simple. I think by comparison, putting it side by side to Eva's made it look less impressive, but that doesn't mean it wasn't impressive. It'd be like taking a beautiful painting that someone worked very hard on and putting it next to like the Mona Lisa. You're just comparing two things that are completely different, and so by contrast, it makes one look weaker than the other. I thought the look was gross. It was repping filth. That foamy mouth was nasty. It was oddly restrained for the challenge. I kind of wanted to see a little bit more, but I still liked it a lot. And it was a very clean look. And is that bad? I don't think so. For a supervillain, you could can either go really wacky off the walls, more is more is more is more, or you kind of just pare it down and be simplistic. One of my favorite villains is Shigo, for literally no reason other than I think she's fierce. And she's got a super simple, clean look. Next is Jaharia, who has publicly said on Twitter that she had a completely different look planned out. I don't know what the failure was for why that didn't work, but that original look was stunner and this was a backup. So I'm going to say that I didn't like it, but I also am holding space that this was not what it was supposed to be. And that does make me feel bad because I think she probably could have been top 3. I did not get supervillain from it. It was reading Rubber Man from AHS with stuff on top of it. I was a little confused why they piped in her shoes clacking on the ground. Like you could very clearly hear, like it was one of those music videos where they take out all the sound. Cynthia was an eyeball creature, very much giving me biblically accurate angel who are covered in eyeballs. The big eyeball on the head was super impressive to me. She was meant to be giving a big FU to glamour and beauty, but I didn't really get that story. I don't know how the eyeball look could have been elevated more other than something super unrealistic like lasers in the eye that turned on and then she could click a button and then those lasers go like pew. But I thought it was a cool look and then the eyeball head came off and there was that fuck ass wig. Oh, the wig was a bad choice. But I loved how graphic and terrifying it was. It was absolutely giving me a super villain. And then Abora is on stilts again. I was a little disappointed to see stilts a third time, but I liked the application of it here, I think more than I did the very first time around for the rave. The initial rising of that bodysuit lifting as if the superhero was flying was impressive until it was suspended fully in the air and you could see the way that the legs were flopping on the body. It all just looked a little droopy, like a limp scrotum. And I was kind of disappointed that it was more of a cosplay than it was a idea that Abora came up with on their own. I think this was probably the only misfire that Abora's had all season. Like there have been some looks that I didn't connect with because I just liked others better, but this one I think was the first one where I was like, ooh, that was a miss. And I sadly could tell that Jaharia was out the moment when she tried to articulate her look. She said, and yeah, that's a kiss of death. That is, I do not know how to explain this, and yeah. The winner is called as Eva. This was Eva's win objectively. Objectively! But I think it would be less frustrating as a viewer if some of her other wins were redistributed among the other castmates. Like I think last week could have been Jay's win because I think Jay took that musical by the balls and yanked him and I liked it. And then I think that very first week win could have gone to Blackberry, who I think performed slightly stronger than Eva. It's not that I think Eva did bad at all in the competition. I just think if you're a diva who slays, you're gonna have plenty of opportunities to slay. So if the other players have a couple of extra wins, it's not gonna take away from the fact that you are still a diva who slays. Take a shot every time that I say slay. And 2 are going home tonight, which I kind of was anticipating happening. I did a whole bunch of math last week and none of the numbers made sense to me except for a double elimination. And they are in fact doing a top 4 this year for the finale, which I'm also gagged by because I thought they were never gonna do that again. With only Eva going to the finale, the other 4 are up for extermination, which was very hard to watch. And they all were pleading their cases in the cauldron, and they were all trying to justify why they should stick around. It made me feel bad to see Cynthia kind of stoop to low levels and make blows at Abora. Like, yeah, Abora's look wasn't the best, but was that the moment to try and drag someone else down in order to elevate herself? I don't know. But on that same token, it was extremely annoying to me to see Abora making fun of Jay for crying. Let's be real, it's very hard for males to express themselves in a healthy way, and being free enough to express your emotions, in my opinion, is the peak of masculinity. All this toxic masculinity bullshit where men aren't allowed to cry in front of other men, I think is stupid. And so I really did not appreciate Abora just making faces and making fun of Jay like, here comes the waterworks. It sort of just continues to reinforce the idea that men shouldn't cry or show emotions, and they're in a high pressure environment. If Abora doesn't want to cry, then they don't have to cry, but Jay was showing a lot of vulnerability and heart and soul in that moment. It just rubbed me wrong personally that Abora was not being kind about that. And Cynthia and Jay's relationship has come such a long way from that week 1 face crack where Cynthia fully looked pissed that Jay was there to now hugging in the cauldron and them just gassing each other up. It doubly felt bad when the two of them were sent up to the gallows to face their fate, because I knew that it was going to be Cynthia who was going to drop. There's no way that they could have dropped Jay. He's been doing great all season. And I thought that was kind of messy of the Boulets, but I get why it was done. Their story had wrapped up. They had a personal closure, and now the two of them are head to head in this very sinister bottom placement. I'm very sad that my queen Cynthia is gone, but so happy that my boy Jay is there. And then Jaharia and Abora also face the gallows, where Abora is in and Jaharia is out. Jaharia looked super deflated this week, which was hard to watch. I think she knew it was her time, and she knew that she wasn't presenting her best. And I can only imagine that that feels bad, going out, not showing your best work. The Boulets announced the final challenge, and that the ghouls will have 1 month to put together 4 looks. 4 is insane. Like, do y'all have any comprehension of how insane that is? Cause that's nuts. They have to do the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and incorporate the tenets of Dragula into those. What I would love to see is something out of the expected. For pestilence, don't just do filth. Do something that's like horror glamour, something out of the box and unexpected that still tells the story. I cannot wait to see all these looks and what they've done. But next week is going to be the Last Supper. And note, when we get to Hellbound Showdown, there was an Easter egg dropped. So let's talk about that. It's Blackberry versus Sigourney, and I will be honest and real, I didn't like either one of the looks or the performances. Sigourney's was just an outfit with stuff on it, and I wasn't that impressed with it, even though I love the performance and how she owns the stage and took that space and made it her bitch. Blackberry looked really cool in the face. It was very Junji Ito, but then the schoolgirl uniform was just not that impressive to me. The spikes on that ball and chain were floppy, and then the performance was kind of mid to me. This was kind of a hard week because I didn't live, laugh, love either one of them, and to me they were both a little bit of an anvil clunk. I wouldn't have pulled out $1 for either. They say that Sigourney keeps marching on but is not called as a finalist, leading me to believe that something else is happening at the Last Supper. Either Jaharia, Cynthia, and Sigourney will all have to compete in one last challenge, or it would be a gag if they make the room vote for who should make it through. Like, imagine they bookend the season the same way they started it in week 1 by asking them to choose a top, since in week 1 they asked them to choose a bottom. And if they do something like that, I'm pinning it now that Jaharia will go to the finale. Half the room is pissed off at Sigourney for the way that she treated them, so they're not gonna vote for her. I feel like Cynthia has rubbed a couple people wrong, and also there might be more of solidarity behind Jaharia because she has been an interesting force this season, where Cynthia has maybe caused a little chaos here and there. Jaharia's chaos she caused behind the scenes. They may not have been as privy to that information. In any case, I'm very excited to see how the reunion plays out. Depending on the juiciness that is, I may cover it here on this channel, but otherwise I will take the week off, like I am taking the week off for Drag Race España because they're also having their reunion week, and in which case I will be back in 2 weeks to talk about the finale. Who are you rooting for going into the finale, and who do you want to see come back from the Hellbound Showdown? What did you think about this episode? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see y'all on the flip.